God, I'm in a good mood. No, I'm not. I'm in a feisty mood.
You are in a good mood. You are in a good mood, good
Your
mood,
singing,
good
it
mood.
leaves something to be desired.
I
Should I play
really-
your voice message back to you so you can listen to it?
P is for party and A is for all night. R is for right now.
Oh, that's for sure. But it was, I love the attempt. It was a wonderful voice message.
R is for right, not really now, because it's been 11 years.
I'm Josh Sigman.
And I'm Bryn Rouse.
I'm a mortgage guy with a passion for helping people with their money and all things business. Bryn is my co-host.
And I'm a marketing girl. I am literally obsessed with it. Oh, and Josh has showed me how to save money. Quite a bit, actually.
Because of her obsession, I hired her to do my marketing.
And we've worked together for 10 years.
We launched Sigman Sense in 2020, a podcast about money. It's a podcast that teaches people how to save more, give more, create wealth, and retire early.
And we recorded and published 34 episodes. People liked it, and it was so fun.
But most importantly, we helped people. So we're excited to announce we're doing a second season. And we're mixing things up. We're moving away from money talks to focus on all things business. Leadership, management, team building, book reviews, hiring, firing, operations.
Motivating teams, lead generation, time management, personality profiling, closing skills,
And of course, money.
and marketing.
We are inviting you to continue this journey with us, and we want your input. What topics would you like to see covered? Email all of your ideas to our podcast email address, sigmansense@gmail.com.
And be sure to click that subscribe button when you visit our channels. You'll get notified when we drop new episodes.
Are you ready? Season 2, Getting Down to Business. Welcome to Sigman Sense. Cool. You ready? You love it when I say that, don't you?
Only when you say it 6 times.
But are you ready?
I mean, I don't know how to look more ready.
Is this your ready look? Ready, go. Welcome back to Sigman Sense.
Ready? Okay. We used to start our chants with ready.
No, that was a
Okay.
cheerleader thing. Ready?
Okay. Let's get this party started.
So we left off talking about the mission and vision and marketables and your marketing messages.
Correct.
And we're
welcome
welcome back to Sigman
Sigman
Sense. And what we're going to talk about today is the next piece of the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer from Traction by Gino. And
Wickman.
Yeah, Gina Wickman.
Yeah.
Gino and I go way back. He and I are first
I
name
call
basis.
him Mr. Wickman, but whatevs.
But yeah, so one area that we had skipped that it's important to dive into is the sandbox. And then we want to finish up this episode with talking about 3-year visions and how it kind of correlates and how people make mistakes here. And so let's talk about sandbox first, shall we?
I think we shall.
Okay, cool. So it wasn't really debatable. That's what we're going to talk about, just letting you know.
Clearly. Hey, you don't get 11 years and not understand when you're not
speak,
really
Josh?
asking a question.
Yeah, by the way, today is our 11th year of working together. So
I
kudos, man.
mean,
Yeah. Thanks for putting up with me.
I'm a
We're halfway
saint.
through our second 7-year itch. That's pretty funny.
Saint.
So sandbox, what is it? So sandbox is the easiest way to describe it is where do you play? Like where does your business play? Why it's important to define where you play is also an easy way to decide where you don't. And I found that a lot of business owners, salespeople, organizations as a whole, start to get invited to areas that are outside of their expertise or outside of the region or outside of their product line. And because it's new, exciting, fun, or potentially profitable, the answer is always yes, when quite often the answer should be no, because you can't be a specialist at everything. So one thing that you and I agree on is in fact, I'm going to give you a pop quiz. Ready? What should a great menu look like at a great restaurant? Tell me what a great menu should look like.
A great menu should, in my opinion, be very concise. I think there's nothing better than, I love chalkboard restaurants. I think those are really cool. Like here's the top 5 things that we're going to serve either today or this week. And, with Rady being in the restaurant business back in the day, one thing I always found really impressive was the way that he would organize his menu. And it was, I am going to buy this many proteins and I want to see how many ways I can make use of this protein.
Interesting.
And so if you think about that, that is like the very definition of a sandbox, right? Like I've got chicken, I have pork, I have beef. As an example, I can serve them by themselves. I can serve them on a sandwich. I can serve them, so.
So you and I agree on this thing then. And I was right in saying it. Like I hate with a passion going to a restaurant that has 15 pages of menus.
Oh my gosh.
Because there's no effing way that they're good at all of them.
Right.
Like, there's, there's a local Chinese/Japanese sushi place that I'm always confused. Like, and Thai actually too. They have Thai food too. Like, is this a Thai place? Is this a Chinese place? Is it a sushi Japanese place?
I don't get it.
You're not great at all of it. So what should I order? And I always have to ask every waiter, like, hey, like, what's your favorite thing on the menu to try and narrow it down? But
to be clear,
I agree.
You ask that everywhere. At every restaurant.
Yeah, well, it like when in Rome, right? But here's the point of the sandbox. So know what you're good at and do that very well and refer out everything else. And
that's where it gets hard.
That's where it gets difficult because, most fledgling, businesses, most fledgling salespeople, they're going to chase every client like it's the only client. And it doesn't mean you're giving great customer service to say yes to everything. In fact, I'd argue the exact opposite, that quite often when we get out of our sandbox is when we hurt a relationship or don't do what's in the best interest of the client, not because we meant to, but we just weren't the expert, right?
Right. So, and I think it's not only for the client that you're helping that's outside the sandbox. I think it's for all the people that are inside your sandbox that are getting neglected because of the non-sandbox player client.
So let's give some color to this because I think people need to really understand this. So I'm a 1 to 4 family residential lender doing business in Texas.
Correct.
1 to 4 families, so primary, second home, investment properties, triplex, quadplex, and nothing else. What I know how to do and I don't do is land loans, construction loans, lot loans, rehab loans, things like that, right? Now I have great referring partners that will take great care of my clients for those people that need those products.
Right.
Yeah, HELOCs is another example. So,
and a HELOC is a home equity line of credit.
That's exactly right. So, as a mortgage lender, I should know how to do all that stuff. But what I've found, here's a great example. I'm here in South Texas. Ranch land is very, very, very expensive in South Texas, as is most of the country. And so I was asked early on, hey man, could you help me get financing on my $6 million ranch? And the answer was no. But what did my internal gut say as a business?
Oh my
Hell
gosh,
yeah, man, I want to do it. Let me help you.
please.
But what you just said about where that would hurt people is if I had to stop to relearn and dive in and make sure I didn't miss anything, which I would do because I care about my clients, what I would do and just investigate and figure things out, which most of the time in any business, the way you learn is by stepping on landmines. What the cost in time would have cost my clients in the zone that I'm really good at. So if I'm spending an extra 15, 20 hours working on this one ranch deal, I'm not spending 15 hours working on the stuff I'm already excellent at, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So the sandbox definition, whether it be these are the widgets we sell, this is the region we specialize in, this is the language we will sell in, all those, that's another example here. I'm personally here in South Texas. We're half Hispanic in San Antonio, right? Thank God I've got a great couple loan officers at my company that speak Spanish, and I don't.
Right.
So I would love to help out every client, but shoot, I want to make sure you understand what you're buying, what you're financing, what the costs are in your native language,
100%.
which means I need to refer you to somebody else.
And
right?
we have stepped on that landmine,
before.
Lots and lots of times, it's like, even with someone that, comes onto our team that speaks like half Spanish, there's a little bit and we're like, perfect, that'll work. And it just really doesn't.
It doesn't. So defining the sandbox is super important.
Yeah. And another example that I think is good to give is, so I'm a marketing person. Well, as it turns out, there is numerous things that can fall under marketing, and they don't all actually fall under the same sandbox, right? So you've got marketing. So under that, you could do social media. You could have business-to-business marketing. You could have relationship sales and marketing. You could have graphic design, videography, photography, all of those things. Graphic design, if I didn't say that.
Aren't you great at all that stuff?
I mean, I am, yes, but that's just really rare, like not everybody could do that. But understanding where the lines are, and when people are like, well, does that mean you can help me design a website? No, like I'm not like a technical marketing person, I'm more relationship driven and have visions of what I want things to look like. But no, I'm not an expert in
the creation of it.
The creation of it. Correct. Yeah. So just another example of, it kind of, it's everywhere.
So here's the beauty of it. So one of the things that I observe with, again, the whole purpose of this series is, you're thinking about, or you started a company, like what's the next step?
Yeah. What the heck do I do now?
And I feel like my observation of most every small company, new company, and this could apply towards small sales teams or mid-sized sales teams. One thing they all have in common, if they care, is they work way too many hours. I see 60, 70, 80 hours or more, which I love if you're young and single, because it's kind of like why I want my kids playing sports. Like if they're playing sports, you're not doing other bad shit, 100%. Right? But it's the same thing with a salesperson, right? It's the same thing with small business. I'd rather you be working on your business than out working with or hanging out with people that are going to wreck your shop because
spending all the money that you
right, exactly right
immediately.
So, but that being said, it doesn't mean you're working really smart either. And what the time management tactic that comes from understanding your sandbox, what that is the ability to say no, which is arguably the most important thing for time management. I will argue till I'm blue in the face that great service comes from clean yeses and clean nos. So it's okay to say no or not now. And I don't think people say those things enough because it's the whatever, whenever button, which is a great theory when you are a multi-billion-dollar company with 1,000 employees.
Right.
Not when you are a small company starting out, because you end up chasing your tail, hurting a relationship, not doing the best interest of a client, in some cases underbidding a project because you didn't belong in the space in the first place. You just didn't know what you didn't know, and spend all this time, energy, effort, lose sleep, and make little or no profit, and or cost yourself a long-term relationship. So
and the other thing too, from a marketing and branding standpoint, that it does is it confuses people.
Yeah, it does.
And so you can't really define yourself or your brand as what you are when people don't really know.
Well, you and I have had this conversation about other people that have had podcasts that are very confusing, just because we do podcasts now, right?
Yeah.
And so I know you do a lot of research into what other people are doing successfully, and whether you want to name the name or not, there's a lifestyle brand.
I think this is a great example. At least in my own head, it's a good example. I'm fan of Rachel Hollis. Not as much so now as I was a couple of years ago, but I feel like it's a great example of kind of being all over the board, right? So she started as a lifestyle blogger.
Which, by the way, this is Girl Wash Your Face, which is an excellent book for both men and women. And I'm read it because I surround myself with women at my company. It's an excellent book. And so this lifestyle thing is like something Bryn's really passionate about.
Yeah. So she started as, lifestyle blogging and which a lot of that comes with crafting and recipes and, DIY projects and how to be a great mom and all of these things that were wonderful. And then, and was an author. I mean, a fictional author. And her books, I've read 2 of them. Fantastic, right? And then kind of found herself in this self-help space. Had Girl Wash Your Face, great book. Continued.
She was doing some stage presence.
Started doing some
public speaking.
And then we're going into clothing. She had a clothing line and a fitness app. And the list kind of went on. And so it got a little confusing as to where are we? And then you also start to kind of question credentials, right? So what is the credentials? What's the tie together between your lifestyle blogging and telling me how to dress, live my life? They have at the time they had a relationship podcast. They had a relationship show that was literally telling people how to have a healthy marriage, and now they're divorced, and so, you start to question when you're crisscrossing all of that. Okay, wait, what's
the messaging gets really confusing.
And So I think that's just an example of when you
Well,
start
and let's
to,
use the antithesis. So let's give a good example of staying in the lane. So John Maxwell is a leadership guy.
yeah.
Leadership books, leadership Bibles, leadership
Yes.
devotionals, leadership speeches, leadership.
Yes.
Like I am very clear where I need to go to read or listen to if I'm working on my leadership, right? You think of like, there's a couple now, Navy SEALs that have come out, like a Jocko Willink or a, what's that ultramarathon guy? No, he's, hold on a second. He's he's the best, one of the best ultramarathon guys of all time. I can picture his face. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee. He is
boo. I don't know that.
oh, come on. It's all about pain. There's no limit to pain. Hold on a second. Hold on. Pay attention, guys. It's gonna be in my library for sure.
Well, yeah.
What's his name?
Can't Hurt Me?
Yes.
Yeah, Can't Hurt Me.
Well, I'm impressed you got the name. That's correct.
That's the name of the book.
Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
David Goggins. That was
reaching.
That was very deep.
Sorry for the technical delay in my brain. But his name is David Goggins. So
I didn't know he was from Nashville.
He runs. Well, he has a house there because he runs by our office in Nashville all the time. It's pretty cool. And literally the guy runs by when it's freaking snowing outside, shirtless and shorts, and because he wants to be in more pain than just running for freaking ever.
I did yoga with a girl yesterday that was in the mountains and it was negative 10 degrees.
Yeah, basics. So here's the point, right? So like a Jocko Willink, a David Goggins, they were SEALs. So going back to credibility, credentials, staying in your lane, what's your sandbox? If you want to teach me about how to overcome adversity, you want to teach me about how to be mentally tough, teach me about how to physically push myself past what I think my limits are.
Yeah.
I would argue that those two guys are pretty good people to listen to, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you read the book Can't Hurt Me, as an example, David Goggins is very clear how many marriages he's been through because the cost of that passion, the cost of, going after these crazy goals, came at a cost of relationships, right? So
I love the transparency, by the way, too.
Very transparent.
I love that transparency because I also think that is it's almost a redefinition of his sandbox.
Well, I love you said that. So being real and sharing pain, if you start paying closer attention to who you're listening to in podcasts, on YouTube or on Instagram or whatever else, in the reels, when you start really thinking about if they only look like they're perfect every time, guaranteed they're not.
Yeah.
If all they show you is why they're, I'm a millionaire because I do A, B, C, D, and E, F, and G, and I've never made a mistake ever. And all they show are the wins, and they never talk about the losses.
Yeah.
They're not real, right?
So I think that's one of my most favorite things about Gary Vee.
Yeah.
And I was just listening to a YouTube video of his, and I loved this. He said he was giving advice to a younger person that wanted to establish a voice on social media or wherever. He wanted a platform, and that he was really worried that he could not gain or he didn't have enough credibility for people to listen. And the way that Gary Vee put it was, look, people they're much more receptive to people saying, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. And if my past experience has taught me anything, this is what I project is going to happen or be the result. Then they can follow along with you through the journey rather than this is how you do it.
This is what I did 20 years ago.
I thought that was, I absolutely loved that. And I thought it was great advice for especially this person that he was talking to and giving advice to, but that's great advice for anybody because I do think people struggle big time with, that's a holdup for people that do have something that they want to share. It's like, well, why me? Why would they trust me? I don't have enough, credibility.
Yep.
All of those things that creep in and then it delays. But
yeah, so all this to be said, we want to wrap up this piece, whether you're talking socially, whether you've got a service industry, a widget that you sell, a restaurant that you own, or all the above. what we're trying to make sure as far as homework is concerned, to wrap up this thought process, decide who you are and what you're not. And the more clarity you get around those two, the better you're going to be at what you choose to do. And the result will be fewer hours wasted. It'll be better customer service. You won't wrestle with a no. Like when it's in the sandbox, the answer is yes, I'm an expert. When the answer is no, it takes 5 seconds to say, no, I appreciate the opportunity, but the best person for you is blank. The best company for you is blank. The best resource for you is blank.
Yeah.
And that's the thought. That's the homework for everybody.
Yeah. And I think one last thing I want to add too is that my brother told me this a long time ago. And I think it's a good analogy for what we're talking about to some degree. He said, Bryn, don't lie.
Yep.
If you don't lie, then you never have to remember what you said.
That's right.
And I'm like, oh, that's just so freeing.
Was that last year?
Yeah. So that was on my 37th birthday, which was a couple weeks ago. But I think the point being, like, if you are 100% authentically true to what you do and how you do it,
and what you don't,
then what an easy, not easy, that's the wrong word, but that emotional wrestle that you might go through, that kind of removes itself because you're always following in the same path and in the same rhythm and beating to the same drum.
That's right.
Which, it can be appreciated by so many around.
Right. Well, let's finish up the first page of the VTO. And so I want to talk a little bit about the 3-year vision, which turns into the 10-year and goes backwards to the 1 year, which is your goals, your annual goals, your 3-year goals, your 10-year goals. Some people call the 10-year the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal, like this is what I want. 3 years, and this is where I see disconnects, and so I want to spend a little bit of time here because hopefully now that you've decided what your mission, your vision, your marketing strategy is, your sandbox is, what your culture is, now it's really like, where the hell are we going?
Yeah.
Because vision without a plan is as worthless as a plan without execution. So this first big page of the VTO is all about the vision side. The second page is more about the plan side, and then you got to do the damn work.
Yeah.
Where the disconnects typically come in is, I'll just list off a few that I see regularly when I coach people on this. Number one is, on the 10-year vision, people don't dream big enough soon enough, right? It is normal to handicap yourself on how big or how far your company can go simply because you've never done anything close to that.
Yeah.
And so it's easier to show people that are in business for 3 or 5 years. All you got to do is map out what the gross revenue was year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and create percentages of growth. And what most people will find is that, while a Fortune 500 company might grow 3 to 5%, well, in early stages of business, you might grow 200, 1,000, 10,000%.
Yeah.
Because going from $100 to $1,000 is a big jump. Going from $1,000 to 2,000, not so big as a percentage, right?
Yeah.
So the issue with the 10 years begins with whatever you think is impossible, like go ahead and add to it. If your vision's not big enough that it scares you, it's probably not big enough at all. If it's not something that excites you, you're probably not going to run through walls to get there. So those are kind of the 2 litmus tests around it. And of course, the third piece is your team or company excited about that same vision, or are you leading everybody the wrong direction, right? So once that 10 years kind of established, which is more of a specific, measurable, tasty goal, I guess. And why I use that word is, the more vivid that vision is, like we've spoken about in previous episodes, the more likely you are to achieve it. So saying I want to do 10 million in sales means nothing.
Right.
But if you understand that 10 million in sales means that you can have 100 employees, which means you can give away $1 million a year in charity and A, B, in C, D, E, F, and G, then you're like, well, shit, that's freaking exciting.
That's
like I've got a team of 2
yeah.
and I want to have a team of 100 and we're going to serve this many clients and X and X and X, right? So that's the 10-year. Now, the 3-year has to be a little bit more thought out, but it's got to, in theory, if I were reading it like a book and I didn't know you and I didn't know what your business was, if I read your 3-year vision and I read your 10-year vision, then the 2 should correlate, right? Like for easy numbers, if your goal was to sell 1,000 widgets in 10 years, then in theory you should sell about 300 widgets in 3 years. right? Like if we're starting from 0 and the 1 year might be 100 widgets, then 3 year might be 300 widgets, and the 10 year should be about 1,000 widgets.
Yeah.
It should kind of correlate. Now, I don't think it needs to be linear. So you can actually have an exponential growth because as you grow with more people, more can be done.
More can be
Once
done.
you create that factory, you can pump out more widgets, right? You have to create
And
the
as
factory
you,
first.
yeah, and the more
And
you
the
learn, the more
expert.
you
Yeah.
tweak, and the efficiency factor comes
Right.
in. So
As long as it's explained. Like, why would I think that you're going to go from 100 to 1,000 in 1 year
right.
with the same skill set, knowledge, team size, and like, are you just going to work like 80 hours a day? Because that sounds impossible.
What I love, that example that you just gave just reminds me of the show Shark Tank. Like
Yeah.
the questions they ask.
Yeah, very smart.
You know,
By the way, if you're thinking
it's-
about opening a business, watch that movie. Watch that TV show.
I mean, it really is so educational
Mm-hmm.
about the way to think about. And you do have people that come in and can't explain why the growth.
Yeah, you've sold 3,000 candy bars in 3 years. Why are you going to sell 30,000 next year?
Right. Well,
Like,
because
explain that to me.
because I'm
on Shark Tank.
Because I'm on Shark Tank. Duh. Why am I here? No, I love that. That's a good point.
But so the finishing the thoughts in the 3 years. So you have to expand the explanations of the metrics, the what should have been achieved by this point, but it's got to correlate with where you're going in 10 years, right? So meaning if you have measurement points of revenue, of units, of volume, of team size, of overhead, of cost of goods sold, of like what are those things? Where should you be roughly? Maybe by the 3rd year, I'm going to hire a manager and I don't have a manager yet. Or
Yeah.
maybe in 3 years, I'm going to hire a CEO because the company should be big enough that it's above my, like I'm a great visionary and I created this cool widget,
Yeah.
but the ability to run a business is beyond my abilities, right? So maybe by year 3, I need to hire a CEO, which would make sense based on certain
Love
other
it.
things, right?
Yeah.
So that story should be easy for others to understand. And that's what you have to remember is when you're writing this business plan, this VTO, using the VTO, it's not just for you. And so your shorthand or your lack of explanation or details or metrics is a shortcoming for getting other people to understand what we're trying to do, how we're going to get there, why we're doing it, and what's in it for them.
Right.
And so if people can buy into, well, like here's a common thing I see with employers and employees, right? I really, truly believe that a lot of employees think that hiring additional employees is a zero-sum game, meaning that if my boss hires this person, then I can't make as much.
Okay.
Or if like, why would we want to hire 5 more people? Like, I'm bonus per file or whatever. Like, how's this going to
Right.
affect me, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to understanding, like, one of our goals this year is to make sure everyone works fewer than 40 hours a week.
Right.
By hiring another person, it's to help everyone work less,
Right.
not take away your money, right?
Right.
But taking it the step further, because most visionaries and company owners and leaders just assume that you get why we would want to do this.
Right.
But
right.
filling in the gaps of in writing, what's in it for you and how do we measure it and why this is important and how we do it, that's what needs to be done in the 3-year vision in a good way.
A lot of times, what I have seen is that there's a almost a lack of willingness to train people to come up.
Poor
so
leadership.
if I am a manager or whatever, I'm the best widget maker. I don't want to tell anybody else on my team how to become the best widget maker, because where does that leave me?
Yeah, then you're not valuable anymore, right?
I'm not valuable anymore. And it's like, no, you really need somebody else to take your spot
For you to move up.
so you can move up and on. You're not going to
Yep.
be kicked off.
Yep.
Like, you're going to be rewarded for duplicating yourself, which is huge.
That's my definition of mastery is when you can replicate yourself through
Yeah.
others. If you can pass on your skill set, that's mastery of something.
Yeah.
Like I always say, you got to learn it first, then you got to do it second, then you got to teach it third. And when you can teach it
Learn
effectively,
it, do it, teach it.
Yep. And so,
Yeah.
it's don't leave any room for error here as far as explaining like why we would want to do this. One of the things I wrote down in our BHAG years ago, I don't know if you remember this, but it's something that was really important to me, is I wrote down as an individual team, we wanted in 10 years to do $250 million in volume as long as it was still fun.
Still fun, yeah.
Like literally, I had that in there as long as it's fun, because as an example, when we had a smaller team, it's like, that sounds like a lot of work.
That's a lot.
Right. So
of work,
what's in it for me for
man,
boss man to do this much business is shit. I get to work more. No, as long as it's still fun was a real key piece of that mission, because, you know, if we find that 150 in personal volume as a team is something that everyone makes what they want, they all feel like they're getting a good opportunity. The business is profitable, because that's got to be important, and we have fun doing it in 40 hours a week. Like, that sounds like a great business to me.
That sounds like a great
business.
Sounds
like a great business.
Yeah. You know, and one thing that I think is important, and we've, you know, I know I've said it before, is setting your own goals and competing against yourself is a really great place to operate from. You know, so it's almost like that's why setting goals is important, if not for all the other reasons. But it doesn't have to be number one. It doesn't have to be at the top of the hill, no, in any organization. But identify what it is you want. And what your team wants.
We're your small company.
Yeah. And remove the rest. And I mean, that could stretch across, you know, where do you want your family life to be? Where do you want to be as a parent? Like, where does that stand? And really remove the comparison, right? The comparing.
Comparison's the thief of joy. I totally agree with that.
For sure. So, you know, compete against yourself to hit your own goals.
Now, that being said, here's my production production coaching at work right here. There's a very fine line between being complacent
for sure
and saying you're content. It's a very fine line.
Yes.
So I do believe that your business is growing or dying. You've got to be going towards something always. And I actually do believe competition is excellent, as long as you don't take the emotional toll. Like, I want to win, because why the hell wouldn't I want to play to win?
Yeah.
So I don't believe in like participation trophies and crap like that in sports. So whoever's listening, if I offend you, I don't give a shit. I think it's wrong.
And it's a problem. It's a problem. It is a problem. It is a problem.
Yeah. So I look directly in the camera. So if I'm talking to you, get over it. My point in saying this for everyone's benefit, though, is that think about who's following you, right? Like, there's got to be a point where you're working for them and for others, because a business owner typically will hit whatever their financial objectives are well before anyone else in the team. They're the business owner. They took the risks. They're going to get the fastest financial reward, typically. Not always, but typically. And the reason I say asterisk, not always, is in some cases, a salesperson in an organization actually makes more than the business owner, just because they bring in the revenue.
This would kind of be like a server being asked to be a manager at a restaurant.
Like, screw that. Like, I can make more serving tables, and I don't want to run all these crazy people. Yeah, exactly. Right. So just that complacency thing is a really scary place for a business. So if you're a 3 or 5 year and you're like, oh yeah, I really like where I'm at. There's a lot of people that I coach that start off not wanting to give goals, which is a big fucking problem.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going for? Why would I follow you if your plan is, we'll see how it works out.
Let's just see what happens.
Like, I don't want to put things down in writing because it stresses me out. Well, fuck, man. Like, get over it.
Do you think it comes from lack of clarity or
don't know what to do? Number one. Number two is that they're afraid of not hitting their goals, and the emotional damage that might be is number two.
Such a fear behind not hitting
number
it.
Three is fear of being held accountable to anything or anybody, which is a leadership issue, in my opinion, more than anything else. What else? Why else would they not want to do goals? Because they failed every other time, and they're tired of being beat up on it. Because they literally think that that not winning makes me a loser, which is not the case.
Yeah.
Like, you can win, you can hit your goals, you could lose, you could miss your goals. It does not make you a winner. It does not make you a loser. So making that a personification issue is a problem.
That's interesting too. Yeah.
I look at every goal as an inning in baseball.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you win innings, you lose innings.
Yeah.
I want to win more than I lose. If I just win more than I lose, I will win the game.
So I also think that everybody kind of internalizes it differently. Like, you know, you could anybody could ask you what the numbers are, and you could spit them off like, at any moment in time. I come from more of I know what I have to do every day, and I know that because I'm clear, first of all, because I'm clear about what it takes to get the job done. If I do those things every day, then it adds up to hitting the goal or coming pretty damn close to hitting the goal. And so I think it's a different way to look at it a little bit, because I don't think numbers all day long.
Yep.
I think activity.
Yep.
Mine is more based around activity. Mine's more based around keeping my calendar full with the right things, doing the things that are on my calendar.
Yep.
And so rather than having to think so numbers driven, I can think was my activity on point today?
Right. So for people that are listening, be clear though, like the activity is a specific number of activities that are in alignment based on past experience with a result.
Yes.
So that's the chopped wood, carry water concept of focus on the day, not the outcome.
Yeah.
The day's results will come, or the day's activities will result in the win late down the road. But the purpose is not the win. The win is the day.
Is the day. Yeah. And I think that kind of, I don't know, I always like to just shed a different light on it just in case maybe it resonates differently with somebody. But like I can, I just remember my parents always saying like, you just, you know what you have to do today.
Yep.
Like go do your job today. Like, and so,
and then also have that written down up front. Hopefully someone holds you accountable, or at least it's in a place you can see it. I'm going to get the date right. I think it's January 22nd. January 22nd. Do you remember what's important about January 22nd?
Isn't that when most people have like pissed off their goals?
Like less than 1% of people have actually kept up with their New Year's resolution and can remember it by that date.
Yeah.
It's because it's not front and center.
Yeah.
So I want to finish up this episode right now because we have to, we'd like to teach the second page of the VTO in the next episode. But what I want you to hear in the clarity of this conversation is two things. Number one is the sandbox is your friend. The more clarity you've got around what you're good at and what you're not good at, where you're going to play and where you're not, will help you with time. Will help you with your expertise. Will help you with your relationships, right? Then you got to go into the 3 and 10 year vision. If you're not driving the bus, no one's going to follow you. No one wants to get in the bus with no driver. It's just the truth.
Right.
Think bigger sooner, but be specific about who, what, when, where, why, and how we're going to achieve those goals. Because what I've always found is that 10-year visions are done in 5 years if you have a great 10, 3, and 1. The 10-year gets done in 5. So I hope that was helpful. This was a fun episode for me.
It was fun. So what is next? So next time we're going to talk about...
Now we're going to get to the last bit of the plan. So remember, the vision is the first page, which is worthless without a plan and execution. The plan is the 1-year vision. So what are we going to do this year? The quarterly objectives, which we call the big rocks, and then how to organize your dream to-do list along with your issues list in one place, and then how to attack that so that you can move on.
It's just going to be so much fun.
Okay.
Okay.
She needs another drink. But I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you for joining Sigman Sense. You can find us and like us and subscribe us, and you can email us if there's a lot of the things we're talking about or what have been specifically asked of us already. So if you have something you'd like us to cover, please let us know.
Please let us know. Find us on all the sites and email us at sigmansense@gmail.com. And we will see you next time.
Take care, guys.